Hello everyone, I'm David. Today I'll share with you 3 lessons that I learned from my MDE experience. Before I start talking about the lessons, let's take a look at the project itself. I'm taking mobile app development EX441 as my MDE. I team up with a group of 6 to develop an iOS app. We hope to develop an app that helps Alzheimer's patients identify individuals through their voices. This technique, which we called speaker identification, is achieved with the help of a trained model in the backend. So whenever a person speaks, his or her voice is automatically recorded and sent to the backend. The model in the backend will make a prediction. It will then send that prediction back to the front end, allowing the results to be displayed. After showing you what the product does, let's move on to the development process. As a team, we first designed the UI UX, API, and main features of the app together. This graph is drawn by one of our teammates. It acts as the blueprint for our front-end design. Next, we split our team into 2. The front-end team needs to design the app using Swift. On the other hand, the backend team must set up the backend server as well as look for a suitable model that could handle voice identification. Although I'm part of the front-end team, I'm also the project manager. It's my duty to keep everybody updated through GroupMe. For example, after a meeting, I will summarize that meeting in the chat room, as well as listing everyone's responsibilities. So, after 2 months of development, what did we produce? Let's assess it. Indeed, some functionalities were cut from the original design due to time constraints. For example, we originally allowed users to edit their profiles, but since it requires designing another API path, we cut that feature. But still, our finished product still fulfills the intended purpose of speaker identification. This image from our UI UX graph depicts the speaker identification in its 3 stages: the initial stage, the waiting stage, and the result stage. This feature is faithfully recreated in our final product. As you can see, it still has these 3 stages from the original design. In the end, we were able to present a functioning product on time, with all of its features thoroughly explained in the demo video. So, what are the 3 lessons? Lesson number 1 is learning the basics of Swift. As a front-end developer, it's my job to faithfully recreate all the features from our UI UX design. So gradually, I learned how to implement different widgets. Here's what we call a UI picker view. It's one of the widgets needed for our app that was not covered in class or the labs. So I had to do some research to learn how it works. By the end of these 2 months, I worked on 6 different scenes. I learned how to work with audio, images, and passing data in between every scene. In the end, I felt that I at least acquired some basic skills for developing an app using Swift. Lesson number 2. Final designs largely differ from our initial plans. What does that mean? It means that some aspects of our design can't be recreated in the app. Since it takes additional work to design text and images, artistic choices are dropped from the final design to save development time. And is it a good thing that our design changes along the way? No. In fact, we discovered that we need to add a ton of stuff to our scenes that we originally designed. Hence, the workload became heavier than we expected. Let's take a look at these 2 tasks. These are designing the main menu scene and designing the voice collection scene. They seem to be quite simple in the beginning, but we soon discovered that for the main menu scene, we also have to implement some speaker identification related features. Hence, an additional results scene is needed. As for the voice collection scene, we discovered that we can't fit all of the buttons into one scene. So we actually had to design 2 additional scenes for the feature to properly work. Next, the 3rd lesson I learned is the importance of time management. This is the story of how my development schedule was a bit messed up during November. The project's due date is on December 2nd. There seems to be plenty of time, right? For the first 2 weeks, our team focused on preparing a BMC presentation, so not much development was made. What's worse was that I had interviews scattered throughout November, making it difficult for me to make progress and assign tasks to everyone. Then comes Thanksgiving. The Thanksgiving break at the end of November further hinders the development process. And I ended up cramming a lot of work in the final days before the demo due date. I particularly remember staying up all night preparing for a temporary backend for the demo. Even at the time of recording this video, I still felt a bit exhausted. Luckily, my teammates helped me out on updating the GitHub wiki. The wiki's markdown syntax are quite difficult to work with, so I really appreciate their help. At last, we have both the demo and wiki finished on time. So, how should we improve? Remember how our workload increased because we had so many additions that we didn't predict? I believe that we could have avoided this problem if we examined the assets in Swift during our planning stage. That way, we could have had a better estimation of our workload. For instance, if we examined the picker view during the planning stage, we would have known how much space it would take in the voice collection scene. Therefore, we may have discovered that the remaining spaces aren't enough for all the photos and audio related buttons to fit in. That way, we could have come to the conclusion that two additional scenes must be made. Remember how I messed up November's schedule? Is there a way to fix that? I should probably appoint a second project manager who could help me supervise the team when I'm on a tight schedule, or assign tasks to everybody when I lose direction. That way, I could have avoided the exhaustion I have for the past few days. I must say that the MDE experience has its ups and downs, but still, it better prepared me for future group projects that I'll face in my job. I'm glad to have shared my experience with you. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.